Hello and welcome to the Weekly Shonen Jump Review. Each week I read Weekly Shonen Jump and give my review of the chapters. As a reminder of my format, I'll provide a brief summary of the series that I read, followed by some quick thoughts about each chapter, and then at the end of the video I will rank all of the chapters as if I'm turning in the surveys. I don't cover all of the series in this review, as I've already dropped some of them, but for those that I do, there will be some spoilers, so be warned. Check the table of contents for series that you don't want to have spoiled. Imu and Loki are having a fight, and we are learning of some of the aspects of Imu's power. He is able to take a direct strike of Loki's lightning hammer using his black flames, which seem to manifest their own will or are alive in some way. Corruption is his ability to take over folks and is related to lusting after power. Then there is covenants, or choosing servitude out of self-interest, and envy, which leads to the power of omen, which form a trinity for which Imu calls domination. Loki calls out the power as maybe not God's domination, but some deal with the devil. And he also stands up to Imu's provocations. But Imu only has eyes for Joy Boy, who at the moment is eating his stomach full. While he is distracted, Loki returns to big dragon form and blasts him into a tree. But it looks like Luffy as Joy Boy will probably be rejoining the fight soon. Very interesting chapter this week with good development of the characters of Loki and Imu. He still is a bit of an unscrutable force, and we don't have a full picture of what is going on in his head, but it has definitely been some interesting developments on his power front so far. This week we learn more about Crazy Witch's backstory. In her case, there was a poison magic who, rather than hating humans, wanted to minimize the damage that they caused, so they requested to have an environment be created where they wouldn't be acquired and they would do no harm. The Witches Association made it and was able to build a solid relationship with the magic. This obviously didn't last, though, as Fujime, the Crazy Witch, just did a casual slaughter of a bunch of witches and the police and acquired the magic anyway. Then we recognize that given the crazy amount of access that the magics have had on the association so far, there must be a mole that was working with Fujime and the World Hater magic. But we don't have to sit in suspense or try to figure out who it is, because we are told who it is, and it is Amadoro Ribbon Candy, or the witch that is doing her best to appear as a man. Oh, and she also has a minigun, so that's impressive. Anyway, it looks like Ichi is going to be in some immediate danger going forward into the next chapter, but this new witch seems like she really is bad news. So not a person who is being controlled by a magic, but just bad in and of herself. So yeah, she seems nice. Looks like we won't be one for mysteries in this series, but let's see what happens. Akane has opened up her Rakugo verse and has become a disembodied passenger on the tides of Rakugo itself, and is surprised to see this part of her watching her own performance and marveling at the abilities that she is able to show, even showing off some techniques that Akane struggled with in the past. This is rising up to higher and higher levels of passion and expression when all of a sudden we are jolted back to the reality of this story and who the real protagonist of it is. Yes, the God of Death wants to play too. And the game that they are looking to play is not nearly so nice as the game that Akane herself was playing up to this point. Our little deity jumps back into the story with a jump scare and is back to bringing the eeriness to this story. And now, apparently, Akane's God of Death story truly will begin. Wow, what a powerful chapter. I was really wondering whether Akane would go off the rails with this new technique, and it seems like she was starting to lose a little bit of control, but it will really be interesting to see how this new tonal shift will impact the rest of her performance. This has been a treat to finally get to see and to read after all of the hyping that has been done over the past few weeks, and it has been incredible to see Akane's true growth since her time away and what she was able to capture with this new level up in her skills. I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks. This week in Kagurabachi, one of the Soga clan is getting glazed up, so you know what that means. Yep, he is about to be killed. The man with the Datenseki proceeds to pull off a 3v1 against the strongest of the Soga fighters, and he is able to neutralize sorcery that is done to him while also emitting a toxin that numbs the senses of the people that he is fighting. However, while this is going on, the Soga crew come up with a plan to launch a huge chunk of compressed metal at him, and the chapter ends with that metal striking into the ground as if it was a bomb. Some very impressive action and fighting in this chapter. The way that each of these characters have been properly able to show off their abilities and demonstrate how powerful that they are, and in just how good of fighters and like the fighting sense that they all have has been really interesting to read. I don't think that the attack at the end here will have completely done the trick, but we will just have to see where we go next week. Another great chapter for Kagurabachi. The match between Haruto and Taiki concludes this week, and we get a few gems, including the bigger Yusa brother, who cheers on his little bro extremely loudly, even if it isn't in his character, and we get to see the results of all of the hard work that Taiki has put in to get to where he is. It is that hard work which allows Taiki to overcome Haruto's playstyle, and even though the score of the set was close, Taiki is able to beat Haruto in straight sets to end the match. This was a very well-drawn and satisfying athletic contest that was interesting to read. I knew that this was going to be the results, and I think all of us probably did too. But even though this was the most likely result, it was done in a very pleasing manner. The tournament will continue on, and Taiki is going to get his second dose of Yusa brother soon. Squad 7 gets to show off their impeccable teamwork by taking advantage of Kasagi's soap abilities, which allow her squad to move at high speeds and coordinate their attacks. They are able to pen in Yoichi's mold, and they are about to try to take him out when Yodaka's good boy instincts kick in, and he holds everybody back for a moment. You see, Yodaka was not only able to pick up on Kasagi's technique right away, he is also able to empathize with Yoichi and convinces the rest of the group to instead put their effort into trying to save Yoichi from the mold and from his current situation. Since Yodaka is undoubtedly right, and everybody believes in him, they change their mission to do exactly that. Really nice chapter with a good message and hits on the connection that you see between Yodaka and Yoichi, because honestly there was one that was there up to this point, especially given that they could so easily have been in the same place or in reverse places had Yodaka not had the support network that he does have. So, very interesting. Khan has destroyed the Dory doll, and he is also able to take out the defensive doll and throw them both into the ocean. Khan tries to talk the warlock down from being bad, but unfortunately her ability allows her to use things that are found in the ocean in large quantities to create an even bigger doll, so things are looking dicey for Khan. Meanwhile, Wolf is in the middle of his fight with the Horned Warlock, and even though he has figured out how the ghosts work, he still finds himself significantly on the back foot. But given how dire the situation is, he allows himself to kick into full werewolf mode and is about to really begin going wild. A great chapter again from Witch Watch. I really enjoyed seeing the action in this one. I thought it was very well done. Also, interesting juxtaposition of having one fight seemingly go very poorly at the end to the other fight, which goes from being very poor to having the good guys be on the upper hand. I thought it was a very like yin and yang type thing. Mafuyu is figuring out how his jet-boosted shoes work and is able to get a brief upper hand on the twins, but it is not a long advantage as the brother is stupidly powerful and is able to overwhelm Mafuyu and his brother even with all of the help of his inventions. Things are looking like they are about to get really dire when the crazy eye patch man flies in from nowhere and saves the day while kicking the brother in the face, saying that he's looking for Shin. Of course, this guy returns. Well, either way, him being back is definitely bad news. So this may not be the best of outcomes. Perhaps in the short term, it's a good outcome and is the best for our gang. It's the best they could have hoped for. But I don't think it's gonna continue to be really good. Let's see what happens next week. Also, cool popularity poll and 2-page color spread. I wish we learned more of the results of the popularity poll, not just who got into first place, but maybe you can find that somewhere else. Haiji and Maxwell both take turns saving each other from falling from the building that they were in, but it is ultimately Maxwell who is successful in the attempt of saving the other. We learn about something that is driving Haiji to do what he is doing, namely some unnamed childhood friend, which showed him that his eyes were not something that he needed to curse and could in fact help people. Then they have a nice long conversation about how the world is pain and hell, and even in the pain and the hell, you can find a way to move towards happiness and making the best of the situation that you're in. Ultimately, I think it landed on a good message, even if slightly on the pessimistic of sides. Then Haiji goes off to perform a surgery, and Maxwell has a tearful call with his 3 wives, I guess. Anyway, I think that this was a somewhat thought-provoking chapter that gets into the mindset of our characters, so in that sense, I think it was good. I appreciate the ultimate good place that it lands, but it did feel like it could have gone a pretty dark way there for a second, so happy we sort of landed that plane. Mizuo and Mime are going to a live Mon mid-event, which is taking place in a surprisingly large event hall. But Mizuo and Mime are equal parts excited and nervous since it's their first event in person that they've ever been to. They try to buy some merch, but instead are sidetracked by a side quest to help a kid find his ticket, which he lost. Miraculously, they are able to find it and are only slightly late getting into the show proper. However, it is that exact delay which allows them to, by chance, run into the hosts as they are entering the venue, and one of the hosts even calls out to them, which was adorable. Their reaction to him calling out to them was adorable. Then we hear a bit about how important the radio show was to Mime when he was younger, and they sit down together to watch their favorite show and host in person. Wow, what a just really cute chapter that had a lot of the great one-liners between the two of them, but also had a lot of just scream out loud moments. Just a fun read again. Kinato is recovering in the hospital, and Lene is back this week, dressed in a nurse's outfit this time. Is there just going to be a running gag of her just being a literal walking Halloween store? Can't say I hate it, honestly. Also, I see you with this All Might reference. You're trying to be slick, but you're not getting it past us. We all know he's Deku. I mean, come on. Next, Jean and maybe the perviest coated medical professional comes in to help him and give him his treatment. The definitely not family-friendly nurse reminds him to not do a Deku and mess up his arms. But then who should appear but the rival? Yep, it's the rival. He's here too, because why wouldn't he be? But then he's a simp for Lene, so, that's fun. Then Kinato proves that he learned nothing, just absolutely nothing, and says that he vows to get stronger so that he could take everyone on by himself. The pervy doctor tries to snap him out of his delusions, but Jean unfortunately comes up with an idea to send him to a group of warrior women to train him up real good so he can be big and strong. Man, this series is definitely pervier than I gave it credit for. Seriously, just let the guy be a support character. Like, he does not need to be the main power force himself. It would be cooler for him to hype up people around him and support them, make them stronger in a really fun way, not just become your bog standard shonen protagonist, which this seems like this is what it's trying to do, and then it's trying to make up for that with like over-the-top sex appeal, which I hope it doesn't continue down this path, because that would be unfortunate. Man, what is it with Hima-Ten and just shamelessly shilling out for people to buy the volumes. I mean, I'm sure it works, but nobody else does it. Anyway, Kanai is here and it's time for a date, and they decide to go on a walking date and take some pictures. They have some fun together, but what is really important, hold on, this is really important, is that Iomori is trying to sort out his feelings. So, he takes the whole chapter to figure it out, and he determines that what he feels for Kanai is actually romantic love and not something else. So, that's a positive. Man, the man is just really trying his hardest to fight against the title of his own manga right now. Anyway, then Kanai comes out and says she wants to have a home date now with Iomori. Oh boy, just really trying to spice it up with the whole my parents aren't going to be home routine. What are you going to do, Iomori? Well, maybe we'll get some more intel next week. Kiyoshi's fight with Bobo seems to be over, and we get to see a flashback to learn more about Bobo, why he is the way that he is, and a big reason for that is that his mother was killed by an exorcist due to a misunderstanding. Even though he knew she was weak, this and the fact that it was Exorcist that killed her made him swear to try to be as strong as possible to not allow something like this to happen again. It is at this time, while things are on the ropes, that he calls in all of his debts at once to try to power up enough to win. This gives him a crazy character design change, but also seems to be putting undue strain on his body. So we will see if Kiyoshi is able to keep up with him. Shiro Kiba is down in the horror science lab, and he learns just exactly what he might have done to his friend before, and it's not good, guys. Anyway, he's a hostage, and he allows them to experiment on him, which apparently happens for 2 weeks, before he meets up again with his little sheep, which has somehow turned into a small girl. Then, they try to plot and escape from here. So just turning down the horror route a little hard this week, aren't we? Honestly, I was not a fan with this direction that the series is going. I mean, the thing that I like about this series is the wrestling and the silly, stupid fun. I was thinking that it would have a dash of horror, which I think could have helped it. Not like really go down that road. So yeah, get back in the ring or I'm walking out of the arena. This week, Roku spends some time with Sachiko, and they learn that they are both fellow otaku and are able to have a good time discussing the series that they like. This leads to a fun gag, but it also leads to Sachiko wanting to help Roku by coming to school to give him his umbrella for the rain. At school, she remembers a bit more about who she is and is affected by the aura of the school by both becoming much taller and much more clearly defined and beautiful. So could she become scary? We will see. Anyway, I definitely enjoyed this chapter, especially the subtle switch in the style to how Sachiko was depicted once she was on the school grounds. This was a really clever touch, and I thought it was a genuinely funny chapter this week. I'm liking this series. This week, the boys decide to go scout out their next scrimmage opponent. Initially, they had planned to just watch from afar, but for a variety of reasons, they are roped into joining their practice and seeing what they can do firsthand. They are only spotted later, but are able to show off a bit of their skill to the group and throw down the gauntlet before running away. Taking some time to introduce the competition and giving the pro tags some room to shine. It was a decent chapter this week. Wow, did I miss the fact that the Demon King was a woman? Well, maybe she was this week, or maybe she always was, and I just didn't really notice. Anyway, she's here to continue trying to get the Demon King commode on her side. Although he struggles to remember her, so much so that he even does a Google search of his brain, and that doesn't help. Anyway, Kumon has really bad IBS, which is why he freaks out when people stop him from taking a dump. Turns out, in elementary school, he had a friend who also had IBS, and they bonded through the faculty bathroom. But one day, the friend was getting bullied and transferred schools, so Kumon beat up the bullies and assumed his other identity as the Demon King, whatever thing. Kumon then rushes to the bathroom after finishing his story, but there's a problem. The bathroom stalls have all been connected to the demon world in the meantime. This series can definitely be funny. It is very strange, though. And that's it for the chapters this week. Rankings are coming up above my head now. Another good week of Shonen Jump to enjoy. A lot of high quality from the top end of the magazine. Comboing Imu coming down to the world and Akane's God of Death story really leads to some good eating at the top of the magazine. The middle class also had a good week, making the middle section difficult just to rank, in all honesty. I want to shout out Roku's House of Oddities. I think it is coming along as a really pleasant read from week to week. A trip to the bottom of the magazine leads me to, my disappointment in Alien Headbutt. I really hope that we do not stay in this horror area of the story. That would really be a turn for the worse as far as I am concerned, and I really hope that Kinato's magic turns down the perviness styles a bit here. Also, just let him be a support, okay? Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you all for watching this video. Hope to see you again in the next one.